Welcome to episode 3 of Mise-en-Scene Weekly. This is your host, Jonathan Lee and Stephen Rankin.
Hello, hello.
Little bit of an upgrade here. Slightly, had to mail back previous mics, and surely this will work better.
I see what you did there again.
Thank you guys for coming. This has been a very fun endeavor, even though allegedly, after the third episode, 90% of podcasts fold. So I just want to take the time to say thank you, and I'm quitting. And that's it.
That's it.
So
we're
this
done.
Is it. We're done.
Jonathan. We have a big talk that we prepared today. A big showdown, if you will.
Have it. It's a submarine showdown, and
That's right.
I will take your submarine and plus one you. So this episode 3, we have defined or labeled as Submarine Showdown. And again, we're Mise-en-Scene Weekly. You can follow us on all social media platforms, I think, outside of Facebook. But with that said, if you have questions, comments, concerns, you think Steve's hair needs a little trim, I don't know the last time he went to a barber, but feel free to have as many negative or positive comments that you so choose, which would, helps us get better time over.
I think it's looking pretty good. It's at a good length right now.
My daughter, I think, in not limited words, basically said to my hair, "Your hair is very pointy."
My hair?
My hair.
Oh, your hair. You have very little hair. I mean, you have hair, but it's short.
Yeah, it's a one guard if you so desire to understand the complexity of my hair.
Gotcha.
So, Submarine Showdown. And what are we going to discuss this week? So we had this idea. We have a variety of topics that we want to discuss week over week, and we pretty much have too many to discuss, and not enough time to actually take 6 hours in our very busy weeks, actually with other proper jobs. But with that said, I am very excited about this because this topic is probably the most difficult one we've had so far, even though we've only had 3. It's called Submarine Showdown, and we're pitting, of course, 2 movies against each other: Crimson Tide versus The Hunt for the Red October. And while we're at it, and the way we define movies, or how we choose movies, I should say, we send it to my wife, who then tells us what movie has been chosen by each of us. And in this week's episode, we chose the same movie.
Yeah, so, it was a quick. I sent it right away. I knew which submarine movie I wanted to have you talk about, and it was the same one. So we had to pivot.
So as somebody who I would say, I get excited for Tony Scott, but with that said, I wanted Crimson Tide because I had just seen pretty much all sub movies last year, and I thought they're a very exciting movie resource to talk about. So I wanted Crimson Tide. But with that said,
why is the submarine movie such a good theme, a good topic?
Suspenseful. It's inherently suspenseful. Like every moment of anytime you have an like in the water scene, whether it's 100 feet underwater, 1,200 feet underwater, anytime there is a scene where a sub is moving, or just stationary for that matter, it's suspenseful.
It's a pressure cooker.
Yeah, what's going to happen now? And I was like, that's what I'm thinking to myself. And of course, the answer is I have no idea. Inherently suspenseful. And
I got a question for you.
Yeah. What's your question?
If you had to take a year-long quest in a submarine, a deep dive, and stay there for a year, what's the one thing that you would bring to kind of keep you sane?
That's a good question, and I probably would bring a large supply of wasabi peas. It seems like wasabi peas would be a very difficult thing to procure.
Just add the mix of all the weird smells that would go on in a submarine, especially in these 2 movies. A lot of cigarette smoke, for sure.
Yeah. By the way, I had this for later. Is it a requirement for sub movies, because we both watch these movies, is it a requirement for submarine movies to have just sweaty men, sweaty humans, generally? Like, I just feel like every sub movie, it's like, you're signing up for this movie, you're going to get paid $10 million, and you have to sweat a lot. Like, do you sweat a lot, or are you a non-sweater? And like, nah, that's not going to work. We need you to sweat.
Well, I feel like I'm not that well versed in the mechanics of a submarine, but I don't think they have a really great HVAC system
They
on
do
board.
actually, where you are wrong. I looked this up
Oh,
actually.
oh, they
Yeah,
do. Okay,
it's
and they're
fantastic.
still sweating. It's all the body heat. That's what it is.
So it would be actually very cold. Allegedly, I don't even know if this is true or not, but allegedly, it's going to be very cold under the water, and so they actually have a fantastic HVAC system. Um, but maybe it's just the movies. I want to actually see a pro. Has there been like actual submarine footage of people, who aren't going to war, or Russia's not going to violate any terms of a treaties, whatever it might be, of like just normal people hanging out, possibly not next to a map or like a
No,
different.
because that would be boring. Nobody would want to watch that.
I just want to see if people sweat on submarines. I have. Have you been on a submarine before?
I have not. No, that's nothing. Not
So,
not that.
well, yours truly here. I have.
Oh wow.
Next to the. It's not bragging point. It's you pay $10 or something and you get on. Next to the Intrepid in New York City, Midtown West, you can actually go on the Intrepid, which is an aircraft carrier. Fantastic if you live in New York City or traveling to here. Um, Unbelievable to watch. Right next door, right in the water, is a submarine. I didn't sweat. Went to the all types of rooms and things of that nature. Claustrophobic, yes, but sweating, I didn't sweat. And this is coming from a guy who sweats.
Yeah, you sweat profusely. Like it's kind of
Yeah,
uncomfortable for me when you're
yeah.
sweating that much.
I'm trying to sweat for the both of us because you're a non.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't sweat too much.
So before, and would you like to go first? But I do have one major question for you,
Sure.
that I've thought about for many years, and I just will get into it. And I was thinking about it because I had, and the theme is self owns, if that makes sense. Like you are saying something and you're effectively, without your knowledge, you're self owning yourself. So you're making fun of yourself to some extent,
Okay.
but you don't know it.
Not in like
And
a Rodney Dangerfield kind of way where you're
no,
purposely making fun of yourself.
yeah, that's very different. Dangerfield,
Okay.
fantastic, good reference. But I had thought recently, because I have a cousin who had a major cell phone and said, we're going to be meeting up. Probably going to watch this. Sorry, but he said, I don't eat sushi because it's just bait to catch fish. And to me, I just like, that's the biggest cell phone I've ever heard. Like it's
That's a
just,
hot
you know,
take.
it's an interesting take, to say the
Yeah.
least. It's one in which I don't agree with, because I think sushi is pretty much one of the greatest things on earth.
I mean,
And
I'll just call me the bait because I'll eat it all up. It's fine. I'll just
yeah, so I'm segueing to the point of movies, generally speaking, and books. And so about many years ago, I checked your social media just to see if you actually had it up. Your quote was from college, and you had on Facebook for 10 years, was basically, you don't read books, you just watch the movies. And I don't know if it was in those exact terminology, but I've always thought that was a self own. You're basically saying you're an uneducated twat. Um, and I just want to know, you have removed it from your social media. Do you still believe that?
so here's the genesis of that quote. And
And that is that a Dangerfield?
no, it's not. It's actually a Jim Gaffigan. But I was heavily into movies. I still read books. I still read books, but I just, I like the Jim Gaffigan quote where he talks about people and says basically like, those pretentious people that say, "Oh, I haven't seen the movie. I've read the books," and they're always very pretentious about that. And he says, "Well, you know what I liked about the movie? It was done in 2 hours. I could take a nap afterwards." Like that's kind of where the genesis of that came from. But
I'm glad.
I have read books before the movies, and I appreciate it a little bit more. So
I'm glad to hear that it actually wasn't perpetuated by your idea that you don't read books. So I'm
I
thankful.
read.
Although, and that's why I bought and purchased the Bill Bryson book for you. Just so I was like, I wonder if he actually reads.
Have you read any Tom Clancy novels?
Ooh, segue. I actually haven't, for many years, and to be honest with you, I can't even remember the last one I read. But it was so long ago, I don't even remember what it was. But I have. seen the movie.
See, you've seen the movies, right? Yeah, you don't need to read the books then. Saved a lot of time. Look at
I would
that.
highly suggest that. And boy, people are gonna hurt me for this, but yeah, I don't have a desire to read the Tom Clancy books. Although A Hunt for the Red October is his first, and is also the first where Jack Ryan shows up.
It's true.
Very interesting. But anyway, would you like to go first? Would I like to go first? What's the deal? What are we doing this week?
I can go first this time. You went first last week, so we can kind of dive in. No pun
Oh, I'm
intended.
ready. I am ready. There was some diving. Hit it.
Yes. All right. So my movie was Crimson Tide, 1995 film directed by Tony Scott. Let's go with the tagline first. The tagline of this movie: in the face of the ultimate nuclear showdown, one man has absolute power, and one man will do anything to stop him. So that's kind of the grip of what we get here. This face off of two acting titans and Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman. I mean, you couldn't ask for two better at their primes, at their times. The standoff of the clash of wills that we have. So this movie had a $53 million budget. It grossed 157.4, so it made some money. It was a hit. 89% Rotten Tomato score. So a very upper echelon movie right there. The synopsis goes: on a U.S. nuclear missile sub, a young first officer stages a mutiny to prevent his trigger-happy captain from launching his nuclear codes before confirming his orders to do so. This high-stakes battle of wills, stemming from a difference in opinion on how best to command a nuclear submarine, gives the audience something to think about. It's a genuine ethical quandary with valid points on both sides. If we wait, we may be too late to stop the enemy missiles. But if we proceed without confirmation, we risk World War III. It was, so we can break this movie down. The first part, we have Gene Hackman, right? He's the old school naval officer. He's got to interview a new XO, executive officer, to man his ship to go down, and we get an interview with him and Denzel Washington. Now, Denzel Washington is the highly touted, kind of name on the top of the list to be the XO, and they have this great little interview, and you kind of hear these snide remarks kind of at the get-go from Gene Hackman's character, where he's like, "Oh, did some time at Harvard." Like, he kind of snirks at that, right? He looks down on it, because
Yeah.
Gene Hackman's character, he's the only one that has been at war. He's been to battle. He's seen that. But Denzel's character, Hunter, or is it Hunt? Yeah,
It's Hunter.
Hunter. Yeah.
You know why I know that? Because that was going to be the name of our son if we had one.
Oh, okay. From this movie.
No. From my arm, Hunter S. Thompson.
Got it. All right. Well, anyways,
Hunter S. Thompson was not born from my arm, just to be clear.
You kind of already feel the friction in that first interview, right? Not overtly, but you kind of see the difference between the two generations and the experience between both. But he hires them as the XO, and they get on the sub. There's a lot of things that happen. This script is so tight. It's amazing how they wrote that, and they use a lot of different writers on this script.
Tarantino even. And who was
he had to punch it up a little bit, add a little bit of comedy, add a little bit of pop cultural references to it, which was fantastic.
Speaking of punching, Hackman actually punched Denzel in the face during the shooting of this movie.
It was forceful too.
Yeah, from what I hear. But nonetheless, I have to take a step back. What would you take on a sub?
What would I take on a sub? Oh gosh, maybe a bunch of books to read, John. Maybe I just take a bunch of books.
This is why I want to quit. This is exactly. I'm done. Like, episode 3, we're done. Anyway, Crimson Tide. There's a bloodbath about to happen, folks.
Well, first, before the bloodbath happens, you get all these like little scenes that kind of add up. I mean, first we get more character development just in the choices of, Gene Hackman has to take his Jack Russell Terrier everywhere with him.
Yeah,
I mean, this is a character trait that, like, I see in real life daily. I work in a restaurant, and people, they bring their dogs to a nice restaurant, and we can't really say anything because they say, "Oh, it's my." They don't even say emotional support animal, but they need the dog by their side, and we can't really say
ESA.
anything.
Do you verify when somebody comes in like that and you're like, "Nice Jack Russell, where's your paperwork?" Or you just
We
like,
we we
whatever?
can't. We can't. I mean, the only thing that you can really ask of the person is, what does this animal, you know, uh, do for you? And they can say
Got it.
emotional support, they can say anything, but we don't have to
Tell
get
that
any kind of
person.
verification of paperwork. Which, I mean, it would be weird to see Gene Hackman come into my restaurant with a little Jack Russell Terrier, let alone take him on a sub. Um,
Didn't Hackman just
but
have a birthday? Isn't he 94?
I don't know. I could
I
I
don't know
could look
either.
that
I
up.
could be pulling this out of somewhere. But anyway,
But
Jack.
yeah, I mean, that
Good stuff.
that that little character trait, it just kind of shows that he is above everybody else, because he can kind of defy the norms of what you should do and not do on a sub. He's going to bring a dog, and the dog's going to piss everywhere, and just create a mess. But anyways, these little tidbits kind of add to the characters of each person. And then one of my favorite scenes in the film was all of the kind of the officers sitting around that table, kind of talking about what war is, and it kind of definitely shows the difference of opinion. I'll play a clip here. It's a couple minutes. We'll listen to it.
Would love.
You do qualify your remarks. Somebody asked me if we should have bombed Japan. A simple yes. By all means, sir. Drop that fucker. Twice. I don't mean to suggest that you're indecisive, Mr. Hunter. Not at all. Just, complicated. Of course, that's the way the Navy wants you. Me, they want it simple.
Well, you certainly fooled them, sir.
Be careful there, Mr. Hunter. That's all I got to rely on, being a simple-minded son of a bitch. Rickover gave me my command, a checklist, a target, and a button to push. All I had to know is how to push it. They'd tell me when. They seem to want you to know why.
I would hope they'd want us all to know why, sir.
So good.
At the Naval War College, it was metallurgy and nuclear reactors, not 19th century philosophy. War is a continuation of politics by other means. Von Clausewitz.
I think, sir, that what he was actually trying to say was a little more
Complicated?
Yes, the purpose of war is to serve a political end, but the true nature of war is to serve itself.
I'm very impressed. In other words, the sailor most likely to win the war is the one most willing to part company with the politicians and ignore everything except the destruction of the enemy. You'd agree with that?
I'd agree that that's what Clausewitz was trying to say.
But you wouldn't agree with it?
No, sir. I do not. No, I just think that in the nuclear world, the true enemy can't be destroyed.
Attention on deck. Von Clausewitz will now tell us exactly who the real enemy is. Von?
In my humble opinion, in the nuclear world, the true enemy is war itself.
And that Hans Zimmer score just kind of coming through right there at the
Yeah.
end. Amazing. But yeah, this scene kind of like, this is kind of my waking life moment, kind of early
Yeah.
in the film, where you have these two opposing people who are supposed to be working together, have completely different views on what the world is and what their role is. Gene Hackman, it's kind of like, if I tell you to jump, you say how high. You don't ask questions, you just do it. Whereas Denzel is a little bit more of a thinker, and he's kind of asking, why are we doing? What's the purpose of this? Is this the ethical question? And this, in the nuclear age, that's a very big, important question.
Kind of. World, WW3 is on the horizon here. I always like the movie itself, and I love sub movies and the suspense when they have, because there's constant dialogue in all sub movies, basically, of, you're underwater. Of course, you're going to have dialogue. And it's often at the bridge where they were here, which is the same bridge, by the way. This is the USS Alabama, which is the same bridge that was used in the USS Georgia on Independence Day in '96. It's the same setting.
Same setup, huh?
It may look familiar. But with that said, I found Hackman's character, and maybe I'm looking way deeper into this, in an insecure way, because you have the Harvard grad who is, coming into the ship, and so he's trying to put his stamp of being a man effectively in a variety of other ways. But he always resorts, or often resorts, I should say, Hackman, to straw man arguments, and such as this, and talking about horses, or when they were both wrong ultimately at the end. But like, there's always this straw man argument with Hackman to try to phrase things or frame things differently for him to be able to understand the argument in a way that Denzel is not presenting it. And this is, I think, one of those examples. And he always just tries to win in his way, so that therefore he then can, I don't know, drop the bomb, if you will. And I just felt like it was like very, if you've ever dealt with somebody who competes in debates with straw man arguments, it's very frustrating. But if they're so situated on like finding a yes and arguing in the way they want to, it's hard to debate that person. I have a friend who's does this all the time, and it's annoying. But nonetheless, super suspenseful. And backing up even further, did you know Al Pacino was supposed to be playing the Hackman role?
I did some research on kind of who they had as first, who they reached out to first on these, and yeah, Al Pacino was one for Ramsey,
and then Brad Pitt wanted to play Hunter.
Right, and
yeah.
I don't think I could see Brad Pitt in that role. I mean,
no.
This was the creme de la creme. I think they got it right on this casting. But yeah, Al Pacino would have been.
Sure.
What's that?
So Tommy Lee Jones passed on it. Actually, was offered the role, and he passed. He would be terrific. But I think Hackman. Look, Hackman is probably a good person, generally, but he definitely comes off like an asshole. Like I think in real life he's just one of those guys that doesn't take shit from anybody. I'm guessing. I have no idea. I have no history of this, but I'm speculating just on my own gut feeling of how he is as a human being.
I mean, he can play these roles. He played Lex Luthor in Superman, and he was fantastic in that as well. It's just, I mean, this one he's kind of, a little messed up. He's a little bit more of a curmudgeon, set in his ways, but he does have support around him, as we'll find out later in the film.
An emotional support animal.
So next big thing that happens in this movie is there's a fire in the galley, and we see Denzel Washington become kind of the hero in that situation, going to put out the fire. And in the midst of this, Hackman decides to do a test, a missile, emergency test. And this really surprises Hunter. He's, basically speaking in front of everybody of like, why would the captain order a test in this situation? Now, after everything happens, they have to hold the test off because one of the cooks has a heart attack and dies. There's this opinion that, or Gene Hackman kind of explains to him, like, the best time to run a test is in a situation of panic, because it puts everybody, that's what it's going to be like when the real thing happens. And I can kind of see that argument, right? But Denzel doesn't agree with it, and he doesn't agree with it in front of other people, which really pisses him off. So this is what he says: just to understand each other, I don't have any problems with questions or doubts. As I said to you before, I'm not seeking the company of kiss asses. But when you got something to say to me, you say to me in private. Are we clear? As a bell. I thought that was a great scene. It just kind of summed up, like, don't step on my toes.
Yeah.
If you got something to say, we can hash it out in private. But the following scene, they didn't hash it out in private. They took care of everything in front of everybody.
Yeah, which at least another backup to this and stupid factoid, I guess. It's funny because Denzel actually was on set with Tarantino, and Tarantino, I guess, for whatever reason, was dropping racial slurs. I don't know if it was something he was just inputting into the script.
I think what I read more was Denzel confronted Tarantino about his prior scripts and prior movies and saying, why did you have to put the N-word in so many of your films? And that's kind of where he was pissed off about. And they kind of had a fight.
And then Tarantino was like, let's take it, behind closed doors. And Denzel's like, nope.
Yeah,
he apologized later, but nonetheless.
He did. They settled it.
Lots of confrontation here, but I do like it's unrelenting, this pitting of characters against each other. It's from the get-go until the very, very end with discussing stallions. There's nothing that not to say nothing, but they're rarely in sync with each other. There's always a nuanced take that either one of them is having that the other is not in complete agreement with. And that's fine. That's negotiation at its heart, but there's definitely an emotional roller coaster aspect with Hackman trying to exude his manliness, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'll play this clip here where this is the actual mutiny, the first mutiny that takes place.
Captain, I cannot concur.
Repeat my command.
Sir, we don't know what this message means. Our target package could have changed.
You repeat this order, or I'll find somebody who will.
I don't know you won't, sir.
You're relieved of your position. Cobb, remove Mr. Hunter from the control room. Get Lieutenant Zimmerman here right now.
No, sir. I do not concur, and I do not recognize your authority to relieve me under command under Navy regulations.
Cobb, arrest this man and get him out of here!
Under operating procedures governing the release of nuclear weapons, we cannot launch our missiles unless both you and I agree.
Cobb,
now,
what are you waiting for?
Sir. This is expressly why your command must be repeated. It requires my assent. I do not give it. And furthermore, you continue upon this course and insist upon this launch without confirming this message first. I will be
Chief of the boat,
backed by the rules of precedence,
Captain, Commanding Officer of the USS Alabama. I order you to place the XO under arrest on the charge of
Navy regulations.
I say again, I order you to place the XO under arrest on the charge of mutiny. Cobb!
Captain, please, the XO is right. We can't launch unless he concurs.
To the USS Alabama. Rebel-controlled missiles being fueled. Launch codes compromised. Dissonance. Threaten launch at continental United States. Set DEFCON 2. Immediately launch 10 Trident missile sorties. They're fueling their missiles! We don't have time to fuck around!
Sir, I think you need time to think this over.
I don't have to think this over!
Captain, I relieve you of your command of this ship. Cobb, escort the captain to his stateroom. I'm assuming command.
You're not assuming anything.
Chief of the boat, Captain Ramsey's under arrest. Lock him in his stateroom.
Captain, please.
Now, Cobb!
Aye, sir. Mitchell, Walker, take the captain below.
You're way out of your league, Hunter. You're not ready to make tough decisions yet.
I mean, that scene was incredible. I could watch that again and again.
I feel like this is the kind of the inherent nature of social media now, and the arguments that really take place from time to time. People just screaming at each other,
shouting over each other, not listening. Just yeah. I mean, but these two performances. I mean, just kind of have to point it out. Like Gene Hackman is all the way up here. He's yelling, shouting, and then you have Denzel kind of going up and down, up and down. He's calm and quiet, which kind of shows more authority than
because he has.
Than yelling over, just at Hunter. So it was I think just one of the most masterful performances in the movie, and the fact that this film came out in '95 and didn't get nominated for any award, acting awards. I mean, just shows you like what were they thinking?
Yeah, and if you were to Hackman taking it to 11. If you meet a psychopath in the streets, you don't match that energy. You gotta counter it. And any relationship, basically, if somebody gets terribly angry, you're not gonna get angry with them.
Well, most people do, and the fact that he could show restraint in that showed control and showed that he was in control of the situation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's if you were to remove the two characters from the movie, which is I guess saying a lot, and of course contingent upon various things, but like you take their performances away, and you're just left with a boat, more or less, in a a bridge from Independence Day. But those they ripped it. I'm shocked that it wasn't nominated.
Yeah,
And
and the supporting cast. I mean, James Gandolfini, Viggo Mortensen,
oh,
yeah,
terrific!
Steve
Yeah,
Zahn.
yeah,
It's just, I
unbelievable
mean,
cast.
great cast, great cast. I love the lighting on Vigo, or the lighting in the whole movie, but especially on Viggo Mortensen. And like every scene early on, it was just this red light on his face, and it kind of foreshadowed like he's going to be the key to the he's the red button, if you will, in the
Yeah,
movie
yeah,
that kind of
that's good.
hinges on everything, which I
That's
thought
really
was
good.
really
Yeah, there's not to get into Hunt for the Red October, but there similarities in both scenes, or both movies, I should say, in red being utilized for different purposes, of course. I mean, Russia for for the Red October, but that I found very similar. But how many things can you do on a submarine? I guess you're going to probably fiddle with lighting, fiddle with sound, and see where you go from there. But yeah, their performances
I mean, that's kind of
unreal.
what sold the movie. The script was great, the performances was great,
Yeah,
the story kind of left you on the edge of your seat. I mean, this movie kind of feels like it could be a stage play. Like you could just have this
yeah,
like
yeah.
kind of take place and have all the characters kind of because you're basically trapped in there with them. You see it all in one setting, which is really cool.
It's a Glengarry Glen Ross, but
Yeah,
not
exactly.
selling things. Trying to yeah, fantastic. So what
Um,
happens?
so basically, he gets escorted to his room. They take control of, or Denzel takes command of the ship. The Russians fire a few missiles. Um, Denzel evades them, but there's a second mutiny that's going on. Basically, after
Second
that,
mutiny.
I mean, we get double
Okay.
mutiny in this movie. One by the books
They
and
collect
one
mutiny.
real mutiny.
Nice.
So they a ragtag group played by Galdolfini. He's so creepy in this movie. The way that he acts is fantastic. But they basically get Captain Ramsey back out, and they stage a coup. They have like a little Mexican standoff, and get the key, the keys from Denzel, and they take back over the boat. Um, and the key to this was Viggo Mortensen. He had to open up the box, right? He had to uh, get the second pair of keys out, and he wasn't going to do it. Right? What happened was, you know, Gene Hackman was pointing a gun at his head, and he still wasn't going to do it. But then Gene Hackman, captain of the boat, points it at just this unsuspecting sailor and says, "All right, I'm going to blow his head off if you don't open it." So that's when he opens the
That's
safe.
always the trick. You gotta threaten somebody that's not involved, and then of course if the person has any heart, it's the way to do it, right?
That's the way to do it. Yeah, exactly. Um, I mean, the stakes were set. Like this whole last hour, basically, we were in real time with these people. It's like an episode of 24 or something like that, where it's just like every minute is every minute on the boat.
Yeah.
Um, and the final scene comes down to, them having to try and establish communication, getting that radio to work. Um,
Ooh, suspenseful though. Just waiting. You're like, what's gonna happen? Is he gonna
yeah,
push the button? Yeah. That
uh,
was drama like 101.
yeah, a little punch up with Quentin Tarantino saying, have you ever seen Star Trek? We need warp speed right now. I mean,
I didn't know. That's ridiculous.
yeah, everything like with the Silver Surfer lines and stuff like that. Mobius is the real Silver Surfer. No, Kirby. That was all Quentin Tarantino,
Oh, I had no idea.
punching up the script. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Um, but yeah, they finally get the radio to work. They get the second transmission that failed earlier, and they get the call that Denzel was right. Do not launch those nukes.
Yeah, yeah.
And the fallout of this. I mean, we see them back at Pearl Harbor, and they're kind of getting reprimanded for what happened, the mutiny and everything like that. Because at the beginning of the film, we see that the three most powerful people in in the world are the U.S. president,
Yeah.
the Russian president, and the commander of a naval submarine, because they all have the button for the nukes. Now, the fallout of that is the power solely is on the president now. But like, I feel like there should have been a little bit more more fallout for Gene Hackman's character. I mean, he pulled a gun on somebody, he punched him in the face. I mean, all of this was, because he thinks he was trying to save the world, but in retrospect, it's tough. But I love the movie. The movie was great.
It's fantastic. And speaking of Pearl Harbor, I found this factoid of useless facts here. Very interesting because Tony Scott allegedly, don't know if this is real or whatnot. I'm not in the know, and this is also from '95. So Tony Scott allegedly got footage of the USS Alabama from an illegal, I guess, means, and somebody allegedly again tipped him off that the USS Alabama was going to be, I guess, departing Pearl Harbor, and so he got advance notice, which is against Navy regulations, and got some footage for the movie that way. And then secondarily, which is funny because Tony, via Top Gun, thought he had an in with the Navy of the U.S., and they're like, we want nothing to do with your movie at all, even remotely. And then I don't know if that's in relation to the footage or alleged footage, but
What happened? What happened? What I read was that the following Top Gun, and the massive influx of people joining the military because they saw that movie and they wanted to be fighter pilots.
Yeah.
The Navy did give kind of an open hand of showing them their submarines and ships and things like that. And the producers and Tony Scott kind of lied about what was going to happen in the movie. They said it was going to be kind of like a hunt for Red October and a little bit of 2001: A Space Odyssey. But once
Yeah.
the Navy found out that the script was about a mutiny, they said, we're out.
Oh, really?
we're not going to do this.
That's fair.
Because, yeah, basically the Navy didn't want that kind of idea seeping in to the I guess,
That makes
the military
sense.
at the time.
Yeah. I don't know the word to be used here, but that makes perfect sense. I love the movie. I own. I mean, I'm pretty much owning all these movies now, but I own Crimson Tide. I have seen it frequently. I love it. I like the name of it. It's just it flows, and the two characters just crush. I mean, they're unbelievable, and it's shocking, especially if you compare. I don't know, choose any Oscars. I mean, imagine this film being released today.
Oh,
Right?
people would lose their minds if a film
Last
like
year.
this was released
Ima-
today. Like we don't get
Imagine this is up for the Oscars this year.
yeah.
Should
We don't get movies like this anymore. I mean, this is an action movie that's dialogue heavy that just like you said rips. It just
rips.
they go for it. We don't have actors of this caliber coming out anymore. Like you see like Timothy Chalamet doing a performance like this. No.
Maybe. Who knows?
Maybe.
Not a Hackman
No,
role for
no
sure.
disrespect to Wonka here, but I mean,
Yeah, that would be tough. Hackman is a one of one. You just have to get an angry person. Yeah, but anyway, it's a fantastic film,
10
and
out of 10.
makes a very. Do you have any other further comments, Your Honor? Or
like I said earlier, what I like about this submarine movie is that we, the audience, are trapped inside this sub almost in real time. There is no escape. There's no cutscenes to the outside world. We don't even see what's going on the Russian sub. We don't get a breath of fresh air. We are in that smoke-filled sub, smelling dog piss, and the sweat of. I mean, it's what 100% men. There's not one woman in this film except
Yeah.
Denzel's wife at the beginning. But yeah, we're put in there. It's a claustrophobic environment, and I think that adds to what a submarine movie is. That submarine movie viewing experience that it puts you in there and it doesn't give you any room to breathe. And that's what I love about this film.
That's what I love about sub films. I mean, it's suspenseful inherently, and everything from bridge shots to just dialogue. I mean, I haven't seen a terrible submarine movie yet, although I have gone through the list of the top 10. There are some that are worse than others, but they're all pretty suspenseful. But I think if you're threatening war or at war, it's going to be a suspenseful movie. And then adding into the fact that you're constantly having chain smokers around you cursing and, getting up and down emotionally, things are going to be a little, on edge, if you will. And then you have somebody that has a button to be pressed that's going to explode the world. Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a bit of a trying time, if you will.
Yeah. And I
But
feel like submarine movies are kind of adjacent to like space movies. Like they're kind of one and the same. Like, you're stuck on a ship, you can't go outside. You have, different technology and things like that. It's just, it's kind of cool that way.
big fan of those movies too, such as
Yeah, me too.
Passenger. Huge fan of Passenger. Getting off topic, but I do like the movies where somebody is just left to their lonesome, as well as being forced to be in a sub, or not forced. I mean, it's somebody signed up.
They volunteer, they sign up.
Yeah. So, good job, suspenseful. In the same vein, we are dealing with a ship that's underwater called a submarine. But my movie is Hunt for the Red October. And to give you some facts here, it's 135 minutes. John McTiernan was the director.
John McTiernan. I mean, he was on a rip for his first few films in the 80s, and this
in particular is just a lovely concoction of post Cold War, physically post Cold War ideas, or even during. But PG. It's funny, we go through these.
Is it PG? Really?
Yeah, it's PG. I always felt like
killed a man in the first 10 minutes. It's wild.
Yeah.
It was a murder.
You killed a man. Yeah, it's interesting how, I don't know it quantifiably if things are qualifiably if things are categorized different now and rated different now, but it just seems like all sub movies, if you're dealing with war, should probably be not for like 8-year-olds. But nonetheless, it's suspense. Got 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, $30 million budget, $200 million box office. Pretty similar stats, I would say, across the board. A little less on the Rotten Tomatoes side, but pretty much the same genre. And a very different movie, though. With that said, Sean Connery is the main actor. He is playing a Lithuanian captain to the ship. His name is Marco Ramius. Fantastic actor. But with that said, and I'm selling myself short and instantaneously. And I think it's just funny enough, and I have to address it because it's like one of the biggest plot gaps is the fact that he speaks like 6 words of Russian.
And they're awful. I mean, they have a heavy Scottish accent.
It's the worst accent. Like, admittingly, Sean Connery has said, not only from this movie, but every movie, he just doesn't do accents and basically goes into it with the director knowing that. And it was clear as day that, I forgot that point, that it was going to be like this, a Russian heavy accent. And it was for 6 words, an attempt. And then that was it. And then it turned into Scottish.
But I gotta say, the way that they transitioned from Russian to English in that scene with the him reading the Armageddon part of the book and just zooming into the
15 through 17.
It was fantastic. It was a fantastic transition.
If you have it on audio, I would love to hear it, but I
don't have that on audio, but I can probably add it in later.
I will do my best. And there are different versions of this. I actually didn't take verbatim what he was saying and mixed it a little bit, which I probably just should have copied. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. And the 7th angel poured out his bowl into the air, and a voice cried out from heaven, saying, "It is done." That shit, when you're starting a movie with, and by the way, this is simultaneous to Putin being assassinated. So, like,
right.
In which, to be honest, I've seen this many times, and I didn't even know what was happening in that moment. But that is a wild way to start a movie, and one in which you think, I don't know what can happen here. Maybe, because you haven't gotten into the character development yet. You haven't gotten into anything other than...
You haven't gotten into motives.
Yeah, there's nothing. So you're like, I don't know where this is going. Like, is there World War III immediate? Like, if Putin's being assassinated, which we learn like very soon after that. But you're literally starting with revelation. Like, you're starting at the end. And, you biblical individuals. I guess we both have. We grew up in the church, but we are not following the ways, as they say now. But that's a very intense, and also I think endearing to some extent, because it's a very suspenseful way to start a flick. And just as background, I love this film. It's a fantastic film. I think the idea of the Red October, just generally, it's loosely based on a variety of different stories, but it is loosely based on a ship captain that takes a ship and
defects.
Not to get ahead of ourselves, but let's simply say it's defects. But it's the first character of the first Jack Ryan movie, which is Jack Ryan is the first. It's from a book from Tom Clancy, Hunt for the Red October, which is his first book. He was like an insurance guy. He never got into the military. Never, because he had a variety of issues getting into the military because of his eyesight and a few other things. But debut fucking novel. Could you imagine? You're just like
amazing.
Out, got a job selling insurance or just shooting the breeze, living life, wanting to be a military character, and then you just create military characters, and this comes out. He consulted variety of military staff, but like unbelievable first novel.
Well, he was big into reading military books and military history in his college years and childhood and things like that. That's kind of what he was into, and he wrote this book, and somehow Ronald Reagan found it and read it and recommended it to the American people. Like, hey, this is a book that I've been reading. And soon after that, they're like, we got to make a movie.
Yeah, which changed everything for him. But the start of it basically is very pro-Russia, or so it feels, until, of course, Putin is assassinated. And then there's a transition of, what's actually going to happen here. But just unbelievable throughout and throughout. But
what makes the Red October special? What is the driving force of that?
Well, that's a good point I was going to get to. So it's not completely, but it's the quietest and most silent submarine ever created, as well as pretty much larger than any other sub and craft of its nature, for which, let's just call it undetectable.
It's Caterpillar propulsion system.
Notwithstanding the fact that, if it has to run on energy that is more of a manual process, such as fuel, for example, then there would be sound. But as it stands, it's effectively doesn't make any sound. And as you might imagine, the suspense of a sub not making any sound and being able to traverse the waters without anyone knowing that it's there is going to make for a very interesting movie.
Yeah, the tagline of this movie for The Hunt for Red October was invisible, silent, stolen. The hunt is on.
It's perfect. And you encapsulate basically the entire movie right there. So as you might imagine, Ramius, Sean Connery, he defects from Russia. And so he is stealing the submarine to in anticipation of reaching America through whatever means necessary to hopefully spend his time and his days on the shores of our fine country, as well as some of the other crew who have been privy to the information that he has actually.
Not everybody, though. Most of the crew doesn't know, but the higher ups do. He insulated himself.
I have a question for you. I have a variety of questions for you. And is this the first? So, all video games that are military based. I shouldn't say that because I don't even play many video games. But there is an exceptional amount of, for example, Tom Clancy movies and spy thrillers such as Jason Bourne. When there is a presentation of a new scene, for example, or even a character, or let's say somebody goes from Paris to Cairo, it's like there is a typeface and a font that is very similarly used between spy movies. Is this the first creation of that idea where that it's almost like a Morse code of the font and the text on the screen while like suspenseful music is playing? I don't know if it is. I tried to look it up on Google, couldn't find anything, and I was like, I'm not spending the next 16 hours trying to figure this out. But I was like, I think it's the first time I've seen this in this way. Of course, there's been lettering on screens and movies, but in a spy thriller, that it's like
it makes you feel
coast of Russia.
It
No?
makes you feel like it's you're reading a military document that just got scanned in
Exactly.
or faxed in, and you're privy to the information for
That's
your
right.
eyes only. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
great.
I loved it, but I couldn't find the answer. But I to compare both films, I love nothing more than the quiet sense of, I don't even want to call it lack of urgency, but just the underwater scenes that you have where you're outside of the boat or where the camera's outside of the boat, which it's not actually underwater. Well, it's underwater in like a stage, but those moments, man, I don't know many movies that are like nothing is happening other than a boat is moving underwater. And like it's like holy fuck, this is suspenseful. It's like my heart's
Well,
racing. You're like, what's gonna happen? It's a
uh,
pause in dialogue. It's a lovely twist.
and these I mean, submarines inherently they're slow moving vessels. I mean, they, they take a long time to turn. The torpedoes are fast and moving, but I think it's that suspensefulness and anticipation of like, will they make the turn in time? Is that going to happen?
Yeah,
Are they going to get blown to because there's no windows in a sub. You can't see what's going on. You're just relying on your equipment, science, and data, and that's it. And watching Sean Connery in that role as the captain, he just feels like he has complete and utter control. Like he's directing an orchestra with like he just knows every little movement of what's going on, even though he's blind to the whole situation.
but he is a maestro for sure.
He's a maestro, yeah.
He is politically trying to, there's 6 or 7 people that are on his side and understand the magnitude of what's actually happening. For example, um, everyone basically wants to get to America. There are a few people that realize that at the very last moment, he actually informed Russia of what he's actually doing before he left, which creates a bit of a shitstorm, and everyone is not necessarily in agreement with him anymore. But the ship uh, at large pretty much doesn't understand what's actually happening. But the
Well,
shots I want to segue into, and I have you can barely see it, but Tarkovsky in like Stalker, which is the movie poster here. There's a lot of scenes in this movie that I felt were Tarkovsky esque, and I think in particular the Sacrifice, his 1986 film, it reminded me of that in a very different way. There's a house burning scene that is just one shot, which is very Tarkovsky, of just one scene where basically you have just suspenseful things happening, people moving, not a lot of sound, and just a crackling of the house burning. And it reminded me of these simple scenes. There was, I guess, less happening. It's just a sub in the water, but it was just a very suspenseful and kind of an emotional tide to watching, a film on screen. Um, I don't know why that is. Why do you think? Is it because we used to see fish? Like, why is it so suspenseful?
well, I
Is
think I mean, it's these images, these slow images that are kind of just burned in your brain like that, and I feel like with regards to the suspense in a sub movie is at any minute if that torpedo hits, there's no parachute that you could just jump out of. There's no rescue or anything like that. You're just a duck sitting in water, and that's kind of where that suspense comes from.
that's where I would agree. My thought was, imagine yourself in water, like we don't move well in water, so it's just like we're relying entirely on the ship, and as you're saying, the you know everything that's involved with it, the radar and things of that nature. And if that goes wrong, then you're fucked, basically.
Your SOL,
Or-
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But to get to the actual plot of the story, um, in effect and in short, they steal a ship. Um, they're going to America. They're looking for asylum, and they're looking for some help. But along the way, would you like to play something, Mister?
Well, yeah, I do, and it kind of developing into this, like Sean Connery, he has his loyal cohort of people that know what's happening, but to the rest of the seamen, the sailors in the ship, he puts on a great act, and I'll play kind of a clip of him kind of rousing them up.
Doors open, Captain.
Comrades, our own fleet doesn't know our full potential. They will do everything possible to test us, but they will only test their own embarrassment. We will leave our fleet behind. We will pass through the American patrols, past their sonar nets, and lay off their largest city and listen to their rock and roll while we conduct missile drills. And when we are finished, the only sound they will hear is our laughter. While we sail to Havana, where the sun is warm, and so is the comradeship.
Cryogenic plant coming online, Captain.
A great day, comrades. We sail into history.
Союзный Руси, мир республик свободных,
Caterpillar engaging.
Caterpillar engaging, Captain.
It's a fantastic, like, my favorite part of the entire movie is that. And they continue singing while they're underwater. And simultaneously, and the singing goes on for like a full 2 minutes, and it's just unbelievable. And simultaneously, while this is happening, there's another sub that is effectively right next door with a man named Seaman Jones, who finds a needle in the haystack, if you will. And
I love
literally,
that character. He was so great.
the audiologist who's tasked with sonar. And he quizzically is thinking, did I hear singing? And so he actually looks into it thinking, on this hunch that something is a little off as they're hunting for the Red October. And he replays some sounds that at the same moment that he thought he heard the singing. And it turns out there was this repetition that he speeds up 10 times, and it sounded like a man-made object. And so at that point, the hunt for the Red October really, really starts. But it was the singing, funnily enough, that actually turns Seaman Jones and I guess the America's sub, I can't remember the name of it, but to actually being able to Dallas, got it, to locate very quickly and directly where they were going, even if they couldn't actually see them or hear them. Well, I guess they could hear them, but they couldn't see them. But I have to take a step back. The directing of these moments, in comparison to Crimson Tide, I actually enjoy the directing of this film more because of, as you were talking about, the lighting underwater in a submarine, especially at the end where the Americans and the Russians are seeing each other for the first time, which is funnily enough that the Russians start speaking Russian again when they are around the Americans, but they're speaking English when they're not. Funny. But the moment they're staring at each other in the face and the lights are blinking and just there's nothing being said, and it's just constant blinking. And I was like, this is so much drama. And I was like, I don't know. Sub movies like really do it for me. So anyway, Seaman Jones, he finds the singing, and the search and the hunt for the Red October just begins to be almost very Tarantino-esque, the directing, in my view. I'm glad you actually played that clip. I wanted you to play it. But the Soviet national anthem is really what tipped Seaman Jones off. And also the lamps. There's a scene in a hallway scene at the very end where Alec Jones, who plays Jack Ryan, Alec
Baldwin.
That's what am I talking about? He who plays Jack Ryan, the first to play Jack Ryan ever. But he's walking down the hallway, and I just thought this is kind of like the hallway of The Shining. So there was a lot of really cool shots.
This movie, I mean, John McTiernan, he just came off directing Die Hard, and he gets this movie.
Best Christmas film.
And he plays it in a way. I mean, this is a techno thriller, right? This is a movie that also has almost kind of like a horror film to it, in a sense that, again, you're in a sub, and the claustrophobia of it kind of lends that to itself. And like you said, the lighting, the flashing lights, and everything like that, it just adds to the suspense, adds to the almost the frightening nature of what is going to happen. The scenes when, and we can kind of get into it, but the scenes when, there is a torpedo getting fired by them from the other Russian ship, and the Americans and the Russians are trying to work together to thwart this last attack, was one of the most suspenseful things you'll ever see in film.
While they're going through canyons, and the U.S. at this moment, Jack Ryan, by the way, is somehow made his way onto the ship because he has been dropped off in freezing cold water that he could spend 4 minutes in before dying. And the helicopter that's bringing him to the ship is going to turn around because it's lacking in gas. And he's like,
Now,
fuck
let
it,
me remind everybody that's listening, if they haven't seen this film or not very familiar with it, but Jack Ryan, he is a character that is not a warrior, not battle ready. What his superpower is his intellect, right?
he's an analyst.
He's
Everyone
an
knows.
analyst.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm just saying for people that don't know, but this is coming in, right off the decade of the 80s where you have these movies about, these big bulking Arnold Schwarzenegger type, Sylvester Stallone heroes, and then now you have Jack Ryan, who is kind of the everyman but very smart, and I thought that was a cool character.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot about you, just without the intellect. You don't
Oh,
have
right.
Yeah.
No, no muscles, but I find myself in sticky situations.
Hey, yeah, underwater in subs when you're sweating, obviously. So one quote I wish I had the audio for this, but he was talking about Cortez and the when he got to the shores of America, and basically Cortez burned his ships when he hit land to motivate his men. I thought that line was so good, but like, imagine in both situations if you're like, yep, we're defecting, just got to deal with it. That is one way to motivate, as well as if you, even worse, you get to new land and your captain just burns your ships and this is it. That would
You're getting rid of the plan B. You're getting rid of the failsafe. You're getting rid,
but
that's the reason for it.
I understand that the notion to do such a thing, but it's pretty wildly it's interesting. So anyway, there's some radiation, some mishaps, if you will, internally as the crew starts to realize what's actually happening. They are trying to prevent the Red October from getting into American soil, if you will, or water. And so and again, the sonar that just keeps being repeated in the sound, which I believe this was up for best sound editing.
I imagine it was, yeah.
I love, and we talked about it last week, just of the movies from the 70s, the mishaps of sound. But I do love when sound is perfect, and everything is matching, but not necessarily too perfect. And I think this is one of those movies where it's perfect in the sense of like there are some abnormalities, but it should have been nominated. And as
I agree.
But yeah, Jack boards on the dumbest thing I've ever seen in this movie, and maybe any movie. He jumps into icy cold water as an analyst. Somehow he gets the
off a helicopter,
the wherewithal to be like, I've calculated the risks. Now I'm going to jump into a submarine and I have to swim to it. Makes his way there, gets with Sean Connery and the group. They get together, and then
the funny thing is they put him in charge of the navigation system. Basically, he's like, I've never worked these buttons before.
Yeah,
but it's putting me here for.
It's still Ramius who's actually doing the work there.
Yeah,
and you go into the backstory eventually, and kind of cutting this short, but ultimately, Captain Borodin is desirous of spending his time between Arizona and Montana. He ultimately gets shot. He passes away, and one one thing I thought was one of the funniest parts of the film, and I don't know if you have the audio for it, but it's 20156. It's the last audio clip. Do you have that possibly?
I have the this one right here. This is kind of right before the cook shoots Sam Neill's character.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's listen to this. This is the torpedo coming straight ahead. 20 seconds left. Here we go.
Torpedo bearing steady at 315. Best range 900 yards.
Torpedo impact. 20 seconds.
What books?
Pardon me?
What books did you write?
I wrote a biography of Admiral Halsey called The Fighting Sailor about naval combat tactics.
I know this book.
Torpedo impact.
Your conclusions were all wrong, Brian.
10 seconds.
Halsey acted stupidly.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Torpedo impact. Now.
What happened?
Combat tactics, Mr. Ryan. By turning into this torpedo, the captain closed the distance before it could arm itself.
It's drama. Just so much drama.
So much drama. Great writing in that situation too. You know, I didn't know a lot about submarines or torpedoes going to this movie. I didn't know that there was a torpedo had to arm itself in an amount of time. So I thought they were just turning into a torpedo about to get hit.
Yeah. So you know about torpedoes now. That's
I know that you can close the distance if you have enough. You got to have a lot of gumption here to turn that sub and right into the pathway of a missile, and just hope for the best.
If I had to guess, I'm just going to go out on a limb, very, very long limb here, and say that I think the accuracy of subs turning underwater in these movies are probably not perfect. What do you think?
It's debatable because you have been on a sub, but not at wartime. Not at war.
You didn't ask any follow-up questions to my being on a sub. Maybe I said we left from there and we were traveling to Iceland. Who knows?
I think the best part of it.
Define war. I mean, maybe I was at war with myself. What do you think?
Maybe. Yeah. Was there any torpedoes hurling at you?
There were torpedoes on board, I think. But so ultimately, Jack gets on board. He tries to resolve things as best as he can, and more or less does. In the drama that unfolds, and I really think that, I know that we've spoiled pretty much everything up until now, but things work out for the best, I think, for most people outside of, the people that have been murdered.
What I liked about this movie.
Why does Jack smoke at the end?
That's a good question. So throughout the whole movie, I think he's been offered cigarettes 3 or 4 times, and he said, I don't smoke, right? And you get this scene where the
Russians and you
get this scene where the Americans and the Russians are on the Red October together. All the other crewmen have sailed off to rescue because they thought that the ship was in kind of nuclear meltdown with radiation, and you see the Russian officers kind of with their at ease with their hats and their by their side, kind of welcoming the Americans, but nothing is said. And how do you break the ice? And so Jack Ryan says, "Hey, can I have one of those cigarettes?" Yeah. You're kind of caught off guard, like, why is he asking for a cigarette right now? And he smokes
it's been repeated.
Right, he smokes it.
Yeah.
And he just starts coughing, and I think that breaks the ice between the two sides that have been at war, and they're kind of finding a common thing to laugh at, right? And that kind of binds them together right then and there. I love that scene. I thought that was great.
Yeah, Jack was turning green. That's one of my favorite scenes of the entire movie, actually, because I love the blinking lights. I love the fact that the Russians are now speaking Russian again, and everyone's just staring at each other like, well, this is interesting. And I'll end it with this. I don't know if you have any more audio clips to play, but the one I did actually want, and I don't know what's wrong with me. I thought it was so funny. And I have it here. It's 2:56. But when Borodin actually gets killed and shot by a gun randomly, Jack is actually making some funny comments like here and there. He's like, well, I guess you can shoot on a submarine. I guess that's more of a Sean Connery accent. But he is going to save the day. The analyst, Jack Ryan. And in doing so, Sean Connery, who is also shot sitting on the ground in the hallway scene where there's big pillars, big red pillars with numbers on them. Red again, Red October. But his words, he goes, Jack. Just
I have it. I have it. I can play it right here for you. And we don't have to listen to your impression.
Levi, be careful what you shoot at. Huh? Most things in here don't react too well to bullets.
Right.
This is the very end of the movie, the climax of the movie, where basically Jack Ryan is going to save the day, save America, like everything is going to be saved. Things are going to be fantastic, you think? And like that's the line that's going to end all be all of Jack taking up arms inside of a submarine, and Sean Connery is telling you that things in here don't react too well to bullets.
You think?
I thought it just. Talking about breaking ice and Jack smoking, I thought that was hilariously amazing, but perfect.
Oh, and then later you see him kind of crawling through the ducts, and he does a great Sean Connery impression of saying the exact same thing. I thought that was fantastic as well.
I do like he did repeat himself when he was by himself talking.
One thing that I took away from this movie, what I really liked was how the movie kind of played out as this long con. Like there was like this Connery had this plan, and all he had to do was get the right American to kind of help assist with the plan. But it was a long con. He was conning his sailors. He had to fake the nuclear meltdown on the sub to get everybody off. It was like The Sting. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Sting with Paul Newman and Robert Redford, but it had that kind of feel to it as well, which was fantastic.
Paul Newman was an attractive man back in the day. Also,
Old Blue Eye. Oh yeah, he's
very much enjoy his olive oil and vinegar dressing, which I have very, very frequently. Well, I guess it's not his anymore, Newman's own, but nonetheless.
Yeah.
So, folks, what are we going to do here? There has to be a winner.
Now I think about it like this. All right. This is a submarine showdown. Let's take the crew of the USS Alabama.
Yep.
Versus the final crew that was on the on the Red October, and pit them against each other in a battle of wits and a battle of wars. Who would come out as the victor?
Why would that be a defining characteristic of us deciding whether one of these movies is better than the next?
Oh, I'm just doing it as a fun kind of like hypothesis of what the answer would be.
I think Gene Hackman and Hunter, well, I should say the Crimson Tide, there's only two characters there. They're just busy talking each other's ears off. So definitely Connery's whooping ass. That is for sure, for certain. And Jack Ryan with brains of, absolutely. Jack Ryan mixed intelligence with Sean Connery's boldness without being egregiously bold like Hackman is throughout the entirety of Crimson Tide. He's irrational. He's like moving on emotion and lack of instinct, if you will. And his prefrontal cortex. He's acting like a 16-year-old the entire movie.
They would never be able to shoot a torpedo. They wouldn't agree on it. They would just keep going back and forth.
No. So if there was a fight, then Connery's fucking everyone up. What are you talking about? Stupid question.
But as far as movies go, I have to lay it out like this. Kind of what I ended with was as a moviegoer, think about being in that big screen, seeing it for the first time with a bunch of people, and feeling like you're part of the crew, feeling that you're just you're a fly on the wall in that submarine, and it just puts you in that situation. That's why I feel like this is the best submarine movie that's ever come out. The acting performances, the Crimson Tide,
okay,
the acting performances, the immersion of being on the sub, the stakes that are put forth with, inciting a World War III. Where, I mean, Red October, you kind of have, yes, there is that threat, but they're more so trying to either blow up the Red October or he's trying to defect. They were never going to launch the nuclear missiles to start World War III. And we as a viewer knew that.
You just want war. You want all the war, basically.
No, I want the threat of all the war, but the resolution that it didn't happen, because that's when the threat is the biggest.
Mm-hmm. And that's what makes Crimson Tide a better movie, just the threat of war?
I mean, the stakes were higher for sure, but I just felt like, for my money, I would watch Crimson Tide again and again. Whereas Red October, like, I watch it once, I get it, it's fun, it's a great movie, but I feel like there's more meat to the bone on Crimson Tide.
I think Crimson Tide to me is kind of outlandish, and it really relies on two characters. And without those two characters, the movie is shit. To be fair, but the two characters make it such that it is, and it's a fantastic movie. With that said, I find hilarious and I started from the very beginning that I mean, there's always plot holes in movies, but like the lack of Russian accent for Connery is just hysterical, and the intermingling of languages when the different parties see each other was funny to me as well.
Does that take you out of the movie? Does it take you
No,
out?
it didn't take me out because I mean I could. I have half my brain cells right now, so I'm good.
Okay.
But with that said, sub movies generally, I don't know. It's hard to compare. I think the acting performances are definitely better on Crimson Tide. I actually think, and I like the storyline much better for Hunt for the Red October. I like the idea of people going to greener pastures and defecting to some extent, whether that's actually defecting from your country, but like trying something new and standing up for what you think is actually right, just as Hunter did in Crimson Tide. But this is a guy who's done it for an entire submarine, whereas the following of orders is really just the pedantic notion of argument and straw man arguments that Hackman takes, which I think no rational human being would. And I think it comes across well to you and to me as well. But it's really, if you break down the parts of Hackman's role and Hackman's who he's trying to be, I think it's the most silly, pedantic straw man argument character maybe ever. And I'm saying he is a great actor in his role, but it's so ridiculous in my view that it's just like you have to have Denzel, who's also a fantastic actor, talk him off a ledge every like. Why do we have to debate every single fucking point in these goddamn stallions, which they both got wrong? They're actually from Slovenia. They're not from Portugal or Spain. But like, I just don't. They're good actors. I think the dialogue could have been better, in my view, honestly. I think that the transitions that Hunt for the Red October had, there's different character development, such as Seaman Jones, the audiologist who's actually adding flavor to this in the singing that actually existed at the very beginning. So everything ties in to what I think is a better packaged movie. Whereas Crimson Tide, here's World War III. Of course, everyone's going to like it because everyone likes war movies and World War III just as you do, or the threat of war. But to me, it's simple. It's a simple thing, and you're relying on two characters or two actors, and without those two actors, the movie is shit. I think, honestly, I don't think it's. I love Crimson Tide, but I do think inherently that Hunt for the Red October is better.
And I see where you're going with this, but for me, the storyline for Hunt for Red October was fantastic. It was great, but I never Sean Connery's urge to defect because his wife was killed the year before this all happened, and he spent all of his time at sea, and he basically didn't get a good life in Russia. Like, I don't feel sorry for the guy. I don't really relate to the guy.
Putin just got assassinated. You have to understand, Putin just got assassinated, like killed. So their guy is gone, and he's doing so because he didn't feel that he connects with his country anymore as well as Putin. Like there's underlying motives besides just the
right. I understand the political and the
like he's
idea.
Like, I'm done. Yeah, and his long love of his life was keeping him alive, and now in effect he's kind of passing away to some extent, and the only way to do so in Russia is to aggressively man us up or defect, and that's what he's chosen. And I don't know. I think it's a love letter to life. He wants to continue living in a way that he actually wants, opposed to the way that he's dictated upon.
Yeah. Well, I like with Crimson Tide. I really enjoy the notion of what the old school mindset versus the new school mindset, and them coming together and then butting heads, and it just making, yes, there's that conflict, but like it leaves you with so many questions leaving the theater, right?
No, it's good. It's good for a movie for sure. It's not real life, but it's good for a movie, definitely. I actually looked up like how often people are like in disagreement in these situations, and it's like it's not often. Not to say that this, I don't even want to be the person that's like going into pedantic level of like these things have to be accurate in movies. I wouldn't. I mean, I fucking love Harry Potter. Like there's like doing magic with wands. Like I can disbelieve things. But anyway, I still think Hunt for the Red October is better. But if you catch me I think with all sub movies, for me, if you catch me on a particular day, I could say Crimson Tide is better and probably argue the same point. I could also say that Black Sea is also better. Das Boot, I don't know if you've seen that in this whole
No,
process.
I haven't seen it. I should watch it.
Which is the number one allegedly.
The number one. Yeah.
Submarine movie of all time. And maybe it was in the 50s, but it's tough. It's a tough watch.
So, yeah, I like I said, we're splitting hairs with these two movies. They're both
terrific.
fantastic. They're great. They're great. Like I said, for my money, if I was at a movie theater and there was only two films showing and it was Crimson Tide or Hunt for Red October, I would put my money down for a ticket for Crimson Tide because that's what I want to see more.
Yeah, you want to see a plate full of dialogue given to you without processing anything, and you want small pedantic dialogue that doesn't really resolve itself or get more intelligent as the movie goes on. I get it. Yeah, I understand.
I disagree with you there. I think the levels keep rising and rising, and the script is one of the best written. I mean, the opening scene with him at a birthday party with Viggo Mortensen just shows how close those two people are, and when Viggo has to basically turn against him, it breaks your heart. But it's going to come back, and Viggo's going to help out later down the line. I mean, like all these little things that just add up through the course of the movie. There's so many little touches. It's wonderful.
Well, folks, that is it. Episode 3 is a wrap. I don't know who won. Nobody won. It's a draw.
We could put a poll out on Twitter and have people vote. How about that?
I mean, we have such a small Twitter following as of now. I'm basically going to create many bot accounts to win. And we don't want to do this. We'll do this if we ever get more than 100 people. But yeah, let the people entertain what is best. But anyway, That's it. I have to jump, my friends.
It was great. Catch us on all of our social scene weekly.
Till next week.